The Saja Boys from the movie Kpop Demon Hunters have become so incredibly popular, and today we draw them in 4 different styles. And the 4 styles are movie, puzzle, realistic, anime, cracked, stone, neon, and a little mysterious one for mystery at the end. Let's start off with the stone effect. One of my favorite things with this series is transforming all of your favorite characters in fun and new ways. And if you like this content and if you want to see more future content, then please do me a favor, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on another cool transformation. Now let's talk about what the stone effect is. In essence, what it is trying to transform it into a stone carving. This is a little bit different than the cracked effect that I do, as we're just purely working in gradations. I will be adding little stone cracks here and there, and little what I like to call pithing, which is where all the tiny little dips and dots that come throughout the stone. That's just from aging over time. When weather hits stone, it'll slowly erode it, and you'll get all these tiny little imperfections and dots, and sometimes pieces will crumble away. So we want to showcase that in this. One reason why I really like also starting off with this stone effect is it kind of gives a really clean design. There's very little transitions, it's very easy to blend out. You're going to work with stronger, bolder outlines just so it has that nice stone effect. And you want to make it look as best as you can. Here's a few tips. What you're going to do is really make sure that you establish all of your grays and your middle tones. You want to leave a lot of white, because when we look at stone statues, you'll see that there's large sections that are light and very large sections that are dark. With the stone effect complete, it's time to move on to the puzzle pieces. And basically, this is exactly what I intended to be. I want it to basically look like as if this section came right out of a puzzle, and we're just putting all the pieces together. But instead of putting it together, we're drawing it in. This is where it's kind of fun, but you have to take your time, making sure that the puzzle pieces not only fit the overall image, but it also looks like it would be part of a puzzle. You don't want to just randomly throw in weird-looking, janky puzzle pieces. You want them to make it feel like it fits. So do take time, and if you need to, if you want to try this effect out yourself, grab some tracing paper and then just trace over the image. And then that way you don't have to waste hours of potentially erasing a really good image that you liked. You can then work with the puzzle pieces through the traced image to find out which kind of image works the best for you. In fact, that's a really good tip for any beginner artist and even some intermediate artists. If you're having troubles with certain styles, draw over it with a piece of tracing paper so that way you can practice on the cheap tracing paper and you don't destroy good quality paper. Paper is so expensive. Do not waste it. Treat all of your art supplies and they will treat you fabulous in the long run. One last tip for if you're trying this out at home, make sure that you do change up the color of the pieces to kind of denote some shadows and highlights throughout the drawing. And with this complete, we are now going to move on to the cracked effect. Now, for those of you who have seen the cracked effect and you've seen me do it numerous times on my channel, it's one of my favorites to do. The one thing I will not be doing with this particular effect this time around is I will not be adding in all the little micro cracks and spider webbing throughout. Now you might be asking why. It's not a cop-out. I just didn't want to damage Jinu's face that much. I feel like if I would have filled in this entire thing with all these little spider web crack marks, it would not be a really good legible image. And most of the image is Jinu's face. And if a lot of it was crack marks and then just spider webs throughout, it wouldn't look good. And so I chose in this particular instance not to do it. If you want to beat me up in the comments for it, go ahead. Have at it. I'm totally down with it.
What the hell you talking about? Always being so loud. Get my name out of your mouth, or I have to knock your lights out. Time out. Need on my bullet or wine out. Little baby boys and girls, peak on high way to stop now. Go my didn't out of some of how go drop out. Go against me, you wipe out. So chill out and stand down. 한결같이 똑같은 너희들이랑 달라 stand out. 하루 올라가는 몸값, yeah I'm all out. 놀아주려도 바빠 너무 바빠, see ya I'm out.
Now we're just going to finish up with a little bit of color here as we then slowly move on to the neon effect. Now, traditionally the neon or the glow effect, you just basically make everything black and then add the glow over the top. You want to make it look like an old neon sign. I changed that because I want the image to still be legible behind it, and it's the only stark black in the image. And because of the bright bubbly nature of the characters, their fuchsia colors, their neon colors, I thought it wouldn't look right if it was just all black in this one little quadrant. So I wanted to give it really simple basic coloring. Then I will go over the top with my black acrylic paint pen, and then you'll just see the beautiful neon effect just kind of come all together. I don't go too heavy, as you can see, also because I want to be able to actually see the lines that I made underneath. If you are doing the neon effect, you can actually just double up all of the lines underneath the image before you make it all black, and then you'll be able to see it underneath when you're tracing over with your acrylic paint pens. With the neon effect complete, we can now move on to the anime style. Now you might be thinking to yourself, aren't they very similar? And yeah, they are, but there's certain things that are much different from the movie as per the anime, or the anime style as I'm calling it on this one. Basically, any anime style follows certain tropes of drawing, but also it's a cellular-based animation, and what that means is it's going to work basically on cells on top of each other, so of value. So you're going to have between 2 to 3 values of shading, and that's where the term cell shading comes from. It's basically the thin plastic that they would print on as you would get your 3D animations. Back in the old days of animating, you would actually put little tiny layers of cells over the top of each other to create the three-dimensional movement, either of a character or the three-dimensional of a character as they're just standing still. When it was shot from above, it would give all of those layers one three-dimensional look, but there were little blobs of color here and there and there and there, but then it made up the totality of the image. But enough of a history lesson. Basically, we're just going to work with 3 tones. We're going to sharpen up some of our lines and much thick, bolder outlines, and that's how we're going to get a beautiful little anime style. I think it works incredibly well for the characters. If they ever made the movie into a show, I would love to actually see it done in an anime style, but that's just because I'm a huge anime fan. With anime complete, we are now going to head on over to the movie style. And there's no simple way to put this. I'm just going to try and duplicate as best as I can what we see in the movie. I'm not going to try and do any extra highlights or shades or values. What you see is what you're going to get, and it's going to be as close as I think I can get it to look exactly how it is in the movie. One of the ways we're going to achieve this is by working in layers. These characters are layered in a very specific and meticulous way. Now, because it's a digital drawing, or they're doing it digitally, it's a lot easier when you're working this way. When you're working with mediums like this, you kind of have to finagle the paper a little bit and work with different mediums over the top of each other, like the hair, and you guys know that I'm not a fan of hair. It was a struggle, but I think it got pretty close to what the movie is. But let me know what you guys and gals think. Is it close to the movie? Is it not close to the movie? If you think it's horrible, that's okay too. But if you like it and you think it's pretty close, let me know in the comments. One trick that I do like to do is if I find that I've gone too dark, I will use a white pencil or a very, very light skin-toned peach to dull down the colors, because there's tons of bright highlights in the face here and in the cheekbones. It kind of just like pops off. It pops right out of the page practically. And a great way to achieve that, instead of trying to do paint pens and all this other stuff, just let the color pencils do all the work. It takes a long time, but that's how you get the beautiful effects. And now I hope you're in it for the long haul, because next up we have the realistic side. And the realistic side, and I know I say this and it's kind of like a dead horse, but it took me significantly longer. This whole side was probably about 4 to 5 hours for this little section, and that's just because I constantly changed my ideas of what medium I wanted to use for baby. And that's just because I wasn't sure if I should go color pencils or if I should go alcohol markers. In retrospect, after looking at the completed image, I probably should have just gone full alcohol markers and worked with just slow varying blends to get that smooth, hyper-realistic that I was hoping to achieve. And instead, I tried to go with full color pencils, and I didn't have all the correct colors for skin tones, especially because baby is very, very light complexion, and so it didn't register as well for me. And this is a good teaching moment that I want to share with all of you. You're not going to like everything you ever do. You're not going to think that everything is great all the time. Sometimes what you might think is your worst work might actually be your best, and conversely the other way around. This is a time where I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. The one thing that I liked most, which I always hate doing, is hair, and I actually love the way it came out. I don't know if it's because the eyes felt a little funny and I adjusted them at the very end, and you will see what I mean by when I adjusted them. I don't know if it's because I went too dark, as you're seeing here with the shadows, and because he has such a light complexion, it was a little unsettling and a little jarring. I don't know, honestly. All I can tell you is that just sometimes when you take a step back and you look at your artwork and then you reflect on it later on, you may love it, and other times you might absolutely hate it. It can always change and vary, but it's kind of what happens when you're an artist. Sometimes you'll come back a year later from a piece of artwork and absolutely love something you hated, or sometimes you'll come back a year later to something you loved and absolutely hate it, and you want to correct it. I just think of it as it's just the curse of the artist. You'll see things and you'll love it, and sometimes you'll absolutely hate it. And sometimes the things that you hate the most, other people will absolutely love. Conversely, once again, the other way around, things you absolutely love, people will be like, oh, that's nice, because it's just not their cup of tea or whatever. But yeah, this was a little bit of a grind, and as you can see, it's just a lot of pushing and pulling with all the different types of color pencils, trying to find the right blends, the right mediums, the right values. Was it too dark? Was it too light? Was it too warm? Was it too cool? All these things. It's just way too much of a struggle. And I actually wound up taking some time working on something else and coming back to this before I completed it. But at the end of it, I was okay with it. And sometimes that's just what you have to do. To move on to the next section that you want to move on to, and just be okay with it, because not everything is going to be perfect, and that is fundamentally okay.
Dead to me, R.I.P. buried. 무리들이 몰려온다 사자해라 미리. Dead to me, R.I.P. buried. 무릎 꿇고 고개 숙여 반성해라 피리. 왜 이래요? 잘못 오셨네요. 상관없는 자에게는 묻지 마세요. 손 깨끗이 씻고 and I live to tell the tale. 못이 바뀌기.
I will say, for everyone that is having trouble trying to complete hair and trying to get all those beautiful hair textures, a great thing you can do is just work gently in layers and use lots of lights. Now, one thing you can also do is work with inks like I did here over the top, because they will layer very beautifully and smooth over the waxy color pencils, and then that's how you can get those beautiful hair textures. That's how I got the lovely smooth hair that was beautiful and flowing here. So if you want to work with your hair and trying to fix up some of the things with some hair drawing, I would just say try to use color pencils and work values over the top, and I think you'll get the desired effect overall. Some last minute highlights as we transition to the mystery side. Now, what would be the mystery side? Well, because of the bold graphical nature of the entire movie, I decided to make this into what I call the graffiti style. Now, how I'm going to execute the graffiti style is by using big, bold, flat cartoon style coloring like you'd see in a graffiti artwork, but I'm going to add much more vibrant color, so the hair is going to be a lot more ramped up with the values and the tones and the highlights and the shadows and the color. And then we're going to finish up with a nice, really cool border. Because it's mostly hair, I figured it's a really good thing. I didn't want to do drip, I didn't want to do glitch, I didn't want to do a lot of these kind of like quick cop-out excuse for drawing. I figured this was the best way to achieve something that has fun, graphical nature, something that it can resonate with the audience, and still look like a cohesive piece of artwork. And it kind of works with the neon, it works with the movie next to it, and it looks like it belongs. It looks like it's its own piece, it looks like it fits, and that's the essence of a lot of things I try to do. Does it all fit? Does each piece look like it belongs as part of the whole? A last minute little border around the outside just to give it that beautiful graphic graffiti style. It really, I think, encapsulates everything that the essence of the art style is about, and we are finished. Which side did you all like best? Let me know in the comments. As always, I appreciate it. We had the movie, we had puzzle, realistic, anime, cracked, stone, neon, and the mysterious graffiti style. Which was your favorite? Let me know in the comments. Thank you all for stopping by. And as always, I'll see you all in the next video.